Something, something, April showers bring May flowers. And with SRO's Circuit of the Americas race weekend sat squarely in the former, Austin is looking a little dreary today in iRacing. Welcome to round 2 of the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League, a highly competitive sim racing championship with the top 40 qualifying drivers in North America racing the Toyota GR86 Cup car. The championship precedes each real-world event by 1 week, which means the real series races at COTA next week. Today, though, it's 2 25-minute races with drivers forced to keep their cars in bounds and on the pavement despite the rainy weather. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined, as always, by Justin Prince. Justin, welcome aboard. We saw rain last season and it made things extra dramatic.
Yes, indeed. We've seen a lot of drivers struggle when it came to the rainy conditions to be able to keep it on the racetrack. But also, once it got towards more drier conditions in terms of the conditions, trying to manage tire temperatures. Today is going to be a tricky one when it comes to the circuit, especially with the rainy conditions. These drivers running about 20-30 seconds slower than the normal pace to try and make sure they hold on to the racetrack, which is going to be also important in the midst of this field today.
Yeah, keep the car on the black stuff as well. This racetrack has a lot of paved runoff. You're going to use it. It's a long lap around here, over 2 minutes and 40 seconds in practice here, Justin. 3.5 mile lap, 20 corners. It's a complex one that has a lot of unique challenges.
Yes, indeed, this track opening back in 2012. You have that big send opportunity into turn 1, one of the prime passing opportunities for those brave. Then you work your way to the S's. Very rhythmistic part of the racetrack where if you break that rhythm, you can go and take it off track very easily, get a slow down. That leads you up to turn 11. A narrow opportunity for drivers to send it up the inside before you reach that long back straightaway that leads you all the way to the arena section. The arena section, lots of chances of side-by-side we've seen last year with drivers, especially before they reach the amphitheater, that go up to 19 and 20 to close out the lap down that front straightaway.
Yeah, turn 19 and 20 is where the race was won and lost last season. It was pretty spicy over there between Michael Yanni and Michael Polasek. We might get to see a rematch of that here today. This is the Toyota GR86 Cup car, and it's got a slight modification from last time out at Sonoma. It's got the Continental wet weather tires. We've only seen these deployed a couple of times in Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League action. Think back to VIR last season, Justin. A little bit lighter rain today, but those treaded Continentals will be very, very important to keep in grip to the racetrack.
Absolutely, especially with the channels in the midst of the tires to make sure the rain flows through quite swiftly instead of those slicks that will send these drivers, well, sliding because there will be no traction to them. And these drivers are definitely going to use those alcohol brakes very carefully around this racetrack to make sure they get their braking marks just right on their tires. It's going to be about managing them too at parts of the day, because depending on the situation, you can have a rainy track, but if it starts drying out at any certain point or starts to lighten up, we might see those tires start to cook and drivers start to struggle on pace.
Well, qualifying has been slightly extended here this week just to give drivers enough time to put down 4 complete laps, which is all the time that they're going to get here today. On the left-hand side of your screen, here's the laps that have been completed so far. And Brandon Hawken is currently the driver up on top, and he was for a moment before Michael Polasek went there. But some new liveries, some new paint schemes and things coming into the second round, so keep an eye out for some of those changes as the cars rocket up that 130-foot climb, up Big Red they call that, to turn number 1. Right on board here with Brandon Hawken here, get an idea of how the track conditions are, Justin.
Yeah, right now, not too bad, but it's still pretty sprinkly out right now. Most quality conditions, still 100% chance of precipitation, and very hot track conditions, mind you, despite the wet conditions. But the Canadian, we know, is one of the top drivers when it comes to his ability on handling a road course. He is slipping and drifting his way, though, to the S's. This is going to cost him time in his third lap here.
A big challenge around COTA. There's lots and lots of that paint that is extremely slippery. Now, of course, this track is an FIA Grade 1 facility, so it does have the grip paint, they call it. It's got a little extra grit in it to help keep the cars stuck to the road, but it is not anything like asphalt. So as soon as you touch the painted sections, you'll hear the car spool up, rev up. It's very, very tricky to keep grip there. But there's also the optimal racing line, and that can ebb and flow throughout the day as drivers kind of disperse the wet weather. We might even see it dry up a little bit towards the end of the day here. So we'll see how drivers navigate that.
Yeah, it's about searching for optimal grip in many cases compared to where the dry line, you might be drawn to the same groove as many of your competitors. Here today, depending on where those puddles start to form on the track, you might be searching for different areas to drive, and trying to avoid hydroplaning your way off the racing circuit. For example, Hawken running a pretty standard line here, but it's about that turn that normally you would see right up to the edge of the corner. There's a big puddle towards the left of the curbing that's going to impact some grip levels there. Hawken that time just attacking that puddle, all while he tries to avoid the curbing that normally drivers will be cradling a little bit because there is so much water built up, standing water on top of the curbing.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot to hit around here, which is good news for the drivers that have to kind of dodge and weave around the puddles. A little lateral slide there out of turn 15. The trickiest part of this racetrack, I think, though, today is going to be these S's. Now, they're not as wet over here as the other side of the racetrack at the moment, but it's very, very hard to get through here in the best of conditions. Now, when you've got puddles and things, it's going to get extremely slippery. So as far as things are concerned, when the green flag drops, this is going to be a big funnel section here. One of the drivers that I think will have no problem with it, though, last year's winner at this facility, Michael Polasek, won in dramatic fashion over Michael Yanni, coming to the checkers right here. It was only a couple thousandths of a second between them.
Yeah, Polasek was very good last time out, and it sparked a very dominant stretch for him last season, where he was basically first or second for just about the rest of the way. And for Polasek, we know he's very consistent. We know he's got that pedigree to handle these conditions. There's a reason he's right now one of the top drivers. But you know who's top of the board now? Michael Yanni just took the pole away from him by 1/10 of a second. And we were talking in practice, he was just holding on to the top 10 in final practice. Yanni picking up the pace once again here at COTA. And we've seen him be very fast last year, obviously.
Attacking the S's here, and this is what I was talking about. You have to straight line this as much as you can, but there's going to be some water collecting on those inside curbs. And he's gone to the top by 37/1000ths of a second, really assaulting those big yellow anti-cut curbs. That's the one nice thing about these cars. They've got enough ground clearance, Justin, where you can get extremely up on top of those curbs, and it's not really going to hurt your performance all that much. You just have to make sure that when you land, it's straight, especially when the track is so slippery.
Yeah, there's a good chance you hit one of those curbs and it causes you to slip and slide. We've seen a couple drivers just jet out off their preferred groove too when they hit the curb the wrong way. So a few of these drivers are, I think, avoiding that. Some of the drivers just attacking it head on because that's just what they prefer. As we take a look at Thomas Bellman, so far outside the top 5 for the one car.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a surprise because he swept Sonoma. And he was good there last season as well, but he was a dominant performance, kind of lit the afterburners and sprinted away from everyone at our first round a couple of weeks ago. So I thought he'd be the one to chase, but just like last season, the performance at Sonoma isn't necessarily a harbinger of more things to come. So we'll see what he's got here. The 19-year-old out of Hillsborough, California, navigates the arena section. This will be his final lap. Yanni still over Polasek and Hawken. Bryce Rodriguez in the 25. Out of Beacon, New York, runs 4th. This is a new driver for this round and looks a great looking race car, and he's running very well as well.
That's with Hyperion Racing, which runs in a lot of different series on the sim. It has its own oval program. Runs primarily on road courses, though, with their unit. Rodriguez looking very solid, as you said, though, in terms of what he's been able to do consistently in practice. He was up to a second quicker in the session when it was a little bit drier out. So Rodriguez may be one of the dark horses, you can argue, if he's able to carry this into racing conditions in a couple minutes time here.
Across the stripe, he'll complete his last lap of the qualifying session, about a half a tenth slower than his best, so he will stay put for now. Russell Soto out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and his number 50 navigates the 16, 17, 18 complex. They call that the carousel. Triple Apex right-hander Andre Castro back with us again. Only 12th quick here in qualifying. We'll see if he can improve. He's 3/10 up. That would put him up a few positions, at least 3, if he can hang on to it.
Yeah, we know Castro was extremely quick last time out, but today doesn't seem to have the same amount of pace with the rainy conditions. He's about a couple tenths off of what he was able to do compared to some of the others in the field, but Castro needing to pick up a full second on this lap if he wants to get towards the top of the board. What will he do? This time got some improvement, but no change in position. He'll start around the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, P11 for Andre Castro. Qualifying is complete, and just like that, Michael Yanni and Polasek finishing in effectively reverse order from where they finished last season, which was first and second, Polasek over Yanni. Justin, we've got two 25-minute races. It's about 10 laps worth of racing and a 37-car field in our second round of the season. There is a drop round, effectively. You can drop two individual races from this 14-round championship, but this is not one of those I'd like to drop. I want to race my way to the front. I want to battle up through the rain. I want to move my way forward as naturally as possible, but this is going to be very tricky. The opening lap of this with the wet weather, the tight quarters, those S's that funnel you down, stay out of trouble is the key to this one.
It's going to be so important to keep it clean in a race like this, especially with how chaotic it may get. Remember with VIR, a lot of people had off tracks that caused some chaos, a lot of crashes, a lot of potential for that. So some of these drivers are going to have to be extremely careful if they want to play things right, especially off the start when everyone's going to be grouped together here.
Well, as we get things ready to go racing here in just a moment's time, I think it's about time to look through our starting lineup here for our grid. Kick things off with row number 1. It's going to be Michael Yanni in that number 23, Michael Polasek in that familiar green and blue number 45. Then behind, it's Brandon Hawken in the number 98, Bryce Rodriguez in the 25. New to the championship, will start on the outside of row number 2. Then it's Paul Darling, and last time out at Sonoma, it was all Thomas Belleman. He'll roll off from row number 3. Then Nate Stewart and Christian Menzies will start in 7th and 8th in that 4th row. No number change, by the way, for Nate Stewart. He is now number 5. Nick Yanni starts 9th. Russell Soto in 10th, Justin.
Andre Castro will start in the 11th position. Kevin Rold starts alongside him in row 6. Row 7, Cole Hooper alongside Blake Townend in the 14th position. Aaron Smith, once again, decent starting spot in 15 alongside Jake Cummings. Then he's followed by Logan McKenzie, who looked fast in final practice. Mauricio Lozano will start alongside. Camden Hibbett all the way down around the edge of the top 20 today. Andrew Sharp starts alongside around on your top 20, Kyle.
Then in 21st place, it's Wan Shi Lin in the number 21 machine, or number 30 machine rather. Clay Morris in the number 48 starts in 22nd. And Nick Sudik and Edwin Onofre in the number 96. He rolls off in 24th with the plaid livery. Then it's Alex Penn in the number 22. He will start in 25th spot. Ben Blaustein in the 86 starts in 26th spot, with Anthony Montello new to the championship. In the number 68, David Schofield, also new, starts in 28th. And it's John Lausen in the 77 and Charles Wimbley starting in 30th, Justin.
Brett Gardner starts in 31st spot. Miguel Colon and alongside him in the running order. Then it's Michael Montello who will start in 33rd. Chris Wentz looking to stay dry in 34th position. Patrick Mason starts 35th alongside Major Montevice. And rounding up the field today, Ian Brown gets the start shotgun for this race as we get set to go for what's going to be a busy time. It's getting really wet all of a sudden as these drivers have rooster tails already kicking up.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty frantic opening lap or two. 25 minutes is not a lot of laps in here in the rain, about 10. So you're not going to have to navigate those S's too many times. But as a field of 37 of America's best, pace car pulls off, and it's time to go racing in the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League. Round number 2, preceding the real world round number 2. Drivers may not change lanes until the start line, which is up by the gantry. Michael Yanni and Polasek, though, 2 by 2. Circuit of the Americas. It's a wet day in Austin. And here at iRacing, the Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League is green, and we're underway from COTA. Nice, good start there by Yanni. A little bit of side-by-side, and there's a collision already in the background. It's Patrick Mason in the fence early.
Yeah, obviously things stacking up at the very back of the field, but the front of the field looking pretty calm. Well, we've seen that be a jinx before. These drivers just trying to hold on. There was a snap there for Bryce Rodriguez. Rest of the field going 2 by 2 into the S's. Some of these drivers need to sort that out. Bellman already getting door-to-door contact with Rodriguez.
Yeah, now you got to get single file here. I don't think you can really do this double wide in the rain. Some drivers are going to try it there. Paul Darling is one of them. And Blake Townend went for a huge slide off course. And he's going to be the victim of the S's on the opening lap.
Well, you said it yourself right there. You can't really drive there side by side for too long. And he was the one that ended up getting the worst of it. Most of the drivers already have single filed out. No telling it's fast. He's going to have to recover quickly here as we try and take a look back at what happened here. See him in the midst of some of the battling going on. He was amongst one of the drivers starting to get single file, then took a peek to the inside, but bounced off the side of one of the PT Autosport machines, looped it down off the racetrack. Lucky to not have any air contact.
And a little bit more pushing and shoving down here at turn 11, but I think everyone has kept it relatively straight, or as straight as they were going to. Michael Yanni out to a very strong start, 8/10 clear of Polasek. And remember, we saw some great racing here last year in the dry, but I wonder if the wet weather is going to separate things or make it even tighter there on back.
I think it's definitely going to make it more difficult to battle back and forth, back and forth. Don't tell that to Rodriguez, though. He just about sent it to the side of Brendan Hawken and try and clear by Bellman. Rodriguez definitely trying to make his presence known as not backing down in a battle like this. And he just had door-to-door contact that nearly looped Bellman. That was a great save to hold on in the midst of the slick, to be able to hold on for Bellman to make sure he didn't loop it to the right like we just seen with the previous replay.
It did a nice job gathering it back up, and he's off to a very strong start. Again, 21-year-old out of Beacon, New York. This is his first round here. Camden Hibbett is battling another new driver. That's Cole Hooper just ahead of him in the all-black car. Hibbett always gives us a great onboard perspective as well, which gives us his heart rate. We saw it pretty high back at Sonoma. Here's a look. Well, it's actually pretty pedestrian by Camden Hibbett standards, 102.
Did go up a little bit with that major slide at the second last corner, though. But he's had a great first lap, starting around the edge of the top 20, already up 6 on the opening lap alone. So Hibbett, a lot more comfortable in racing conditions than he was in qualifying pace, where it was also tight. To be able to set things up, the top 10, 15 or so was separated by about a second with how tight things were over the very front, and Hibbett seems to be just now playing things calm now that he's got that initial burst.
Into the S's now for the second time, and the rain itself has gone away a little bit, but it's going to take a while for the track to dry out. Yanni Polasek lead the way here, and it is the 45 catching the 23. He's run him down about 3 or 4 tenths of a second since the back straightaway.
We already know Polasek's got the speed to keep up. He was looking very solid the last time he raced in the rain to keep up with competitors. Look at this, though. It's starting to get really dangerous back here with some of the drivers. Storm trying to pull away from Castro and company. Nick Yanni getting checked up with how things are in the midst of this pack right now. Some of these drivers, compared to up front, are getting a little bit impatient as they try and search to see the braking lines, like Yanni right there. A good example of him just searching around for grip, and better yet, searching for visibility to make sure he can see his braking mark. Yeah,
thankfully it's not terrible out there today. It's not dark, and really the rain is relatively light, so the visibility hopefully won't be a huge issue, but you still can't be following directly in line with someone. Here's an onboard with Jake Cummings, who's following Aaron Smith and Kevin Rold. Right when you're behind them, it is a little tricky to see those brake lights, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. You can see just water keeps on splashing over the windshield right in front. You see them just fanning out, making sure they can see where they're going for when they have to hit the brakes. Cummings handling it fairly well in this case, for example. No one to send behind at the moment either to provide major pressure for him. So, good handling of these situations. The rain sprinkles have stopped again in session, by the way. You see the sun is out, but it is going to take a while for any dryness to come in. These drivers battle on the wets as Cummings trying to send it, not able to get the runs. Again, Aaron Smith, better performance to the outside line there.
Moving forward in that number 70 up to 15th place at the front of the field. Things are tightening up a little bit. Big lateral slide there for Yanni, chasing the car through turn 19, and Polasek has found him. Battle for the lead is on.
Not surprised Polasek will immediately close things up. We've seen Polasek be finally quick whenever we've seen him on the racetrack multiple times. Big contenders in different series. I think at this point, though, I think he's just going to pace himself. Try and see if he can see the top two break away a little bit. Try and turn it into just a two-car battle instead of multiple cars. Impossible, but it's going to take some time to see what happens. It's also going to take some luck for some of the errors as Bellman gets into a battle mode again, this time with Hawken.
Hawken in the 98 and Bellarmine were side by side in turn 1. I heard a little bit of contact, but I think they managed to escape without turning anybody around backwards. And Nate Stewart in the number 5. Number change here was the 05 previously, but an injury for Jason Landry has relegated him to the sideline for the rest of the season, unfortunately, so gave his number back to Nate Stewart, who wanted 5 in the first place, so all things worked out there.
I mean, for Nate Stewart, whenever he was coming up in the NASCAR ranks, his number was always the number 5, especially when he drove at one point actually with Rise eSports, which was organization originally was Richard Raceway's eSports program for turned into Rise a couple of years ago, and now, of course, Jim Beaver eSports and the Coke Series. So, for Stewart, it's a familiar number. And he is so far handling things very well. He showed some good improvement this season compared to last.
He really has, up to P8 now, chasing Paul Darling. Up front, things are pretty orderly here. Still Yanni over Polasek, but we know these two are going to get into it a little bit later. Here's Camden Hibbett on Russell Soda. This is for 11th place, and Cole Hooper, Kevin Rold watching from behind.
And just as you think, oh, it's going to dry out. No, the rain clouds say, no, we're just going to drop a bunch more rain out on the racetrack. And when you look at the radar for today, I will say this, Kyle, it's going to be back and forth between light to no rain to rain. Oh, that's a little bit wide for that Hibbett. Trying to hold on, still keeps it side by side.
Yeah, I think he got shuffled off there a little bit. There was some contact, and it just got muscled out there a bit. So this is, I'm actually amazed that everyone's kept it as straight as they have, to be honest. I did some driving in conditions very similar like this in the simulator to kind of see what the drivers would experience. It is not incredibly slippery, but if any kind of contact will really upset the car. Let's see Camden go to the outside here at Kevin Rold at turn 19. Brave move here.
They'll try to keep it alongside. Oh, that nearly turned. Yeah, with the contact there, that was a little bit nerve-wracking. But this pack, all not backing down, and it ends in disaster like you would think with how close they're racing. Hibbett happened to take it wide, still side by side, 3 wide.
And up for the lead. Things were going to change for a moment, so we'll jump you back to that battle that was getting heated up. But look at this mess on the front straightaway at COTA, the GR Cup eSports League. Kevin Rold is the sandwich there between the 2 red cars.
We're going to have to keep it careful here, especially with that crossover in the mirror. But Rold is doing a very good job in the midst of this, trying to just hold on in the midst of what is a chaotic time, just to be able to hold on with how aggressive Hibbett is all over the back end, just trying to force him into a mistake, force him to go off the racetrack without making contact. Not easy whatsoever, and Hibbett is just giving him so many breaks in terms of making sure he doesn't hit him.
I thought he might dive up the inside there at Kevin Rold, but thought better of it. A little bit of cooperation there, not to just send it in the middle of the S's when you're sort of trying to get yourself into a flow state here. It's very easy to mess up one corner, then mess up the 5 or 6 after that, just because you made one simple mistake. You have to keep your rhythm there through that area, and Hibbett's done a nice job of doing that.
Not a surprise with some of the pedigree we've seen with him. With Raji, we've talked about that racing series recently. Where a lot of drivers having some experience in the railroad crossover from that. Some of these drivers in this train, like Andrew Sharp, trying to jump train cars, but the problem is not in build up the runs quite yet in the midst of this draft pack. 15 minutes to go.
10 minutes down, 10 minutes or 15 to go, as you pointed out. See if Sharp pops out of line here. Can't see very well, so even if it's just for visibility, he'll look to the left. He's going to send it deep on the brakes here. Is it too deep? 1 car is wide. That's Aaron Smith at turn 12. And Sharp got it slowed down.
Yeah, able to get it slowed right on down. But what happened to Smith here? I believe he might have sent it a little bit deep. Yes, missed his braking mark. Started snapping to the right, held onto it, actually made some contact getting back on the racetrack. And now he'll have to try and recover quickly. He is already very vulnerable with the racing line. Yeah,
I think what happened there is he'd already committed to the brakes, maybe a touch too late, and Camden Hibbett kind of swung back onto the racing line and forced an evasive maneuver there. Major Monsivice has had a problem in the number 41.
Towards the back of the field, let's take a look here. And inside, carries too much speed to the exit, and just ends up looping it around in the rain. Lost traction. That was something we've seen a lot at VIR last season. This time, Montevite's losing lots of time.
Yeah, unfortunate there, but just very easy to do on those wet curbs. The paint, again, so slippery, but given the nature of this racetrack, in some places, you're just going to run over the curbs no matter what. We have a third player that's joined the game here at the front of the field, and that's the newcomer, Bryce Rodriguez, has now made this a 3-horse race for first place.
What did I say in terms of potential possibility? What did he showcased? Possible dark horse, and he had set the fastest lap of the race, closing on in. Last time by, he was almost a second quicker than the leaders, as big off track this time. Bellman all over the place.
Yeah, Bellman just got it wrong and just went straight and ended up having to cut the next corner just a little bit. So trouble, just a little trouble for the driver that won everything out at Sonoma.
It's an interesting time starting to pop up here, to say the very least. But as things pop up, warnings starting to pop up with contact that's rolled in the 17 car that just got the warning on the pylon. We've seen some close calls already in that turn 20 complex with side-by-side. So it is already being kept an eye on as Hibbett tries to cross them up.
And these two have gone at it quite a bit here. And Camden Hibbett, we know how talented of a racer he is. Spends a lot of time on iRacing every week, mostly driving, relatively low-power rear-wheel drive cars. So this car slots right in that category. But the competition level is so high that, he was a factor in the top 10 at Sonoma, but wasn't really a factor for the win. Once he figures this car out, he is going to be a threat. But right now battling just for 14th place here with Kevin Rold.
These machines battling aggressively here today, trying to gain up spots. The team based out of Detroit, Michigan.
Whoop.
So, trouble was on. That it was stopped on the racetrack. I believe a couple people may have hit him for the contact. I can tell you had a hit for the 96 heading off into the turn and setting it deep. But the thing is, Lozano stopped at a very bad spot. A couple cars bounced off of him.
You see that damage to the left front. That is going to take that car likely out of this race, or be wildly uncomfortable to drive for the rest of the session at the very least. Charles Wimbley was one of the drivers that got into him. You see the damage to the right front of his car. So the puzzle pieces coming together for an incident at turn 12.
Very tough break for some of these machines, absolutely. Lozano, Michael Montello, should say, and Charles Wimbley all picked up mandatory meatball flags. They're going to have to come in on chassis damage. So there's a lot of contact, and you have to be careful about contact with these cars. That emphasizes it, as, my goodness, yet again, Bellman just holding on for dear life. Nate Stort sent wide for a moment.
Yeah, and Andre Castro watching from the tailpipes here. He's going to try to power by both. A little contact here heading into the S's. This is a high-speed section to be playing chicken here, boys. A little bit more contact side to side.
Castro trying to squeeze out Bellman. Will Bellman give him a break here? Looks like the answer is yes. Castro just about got turned with how close things were as we start to see penalties pop up. Yeah, this is a 5-second penalty for the 96 after the contact we just saw down at turn 12. So Ed Onofer is going to have 5 extra seconds of time added at the end of this race for that contact down there. Unfortunately, this is getting physical between these two, and Nick Yanni's just going to watch from behind as the sparks fly. I mean, why not? May as well see while they throw punch after punch. May as well find a way on by yourself. Good example. How about him getting to the match, though? Castro just about snapped into him, just trying to hold on with that very outside line he had to take. But Castro still has that line of the draft. Bellman, I think, just wants the both of them to fight. You can see him just playing the lines.
And Castro, look at that, splits the difference, pops over to the left, and it'll be a braking duel down into turn 12. Who's later on the binders? A little contact to Bellman from Yanni. A little bit of pinball down there at the braking zone.
There is damage now all over the left side of Bellman's car, mind you, with all this battling back and forth. There's only so much it can handle. You can see a lot of contact to that left rear around the tire.
Has definitely gotten run into a number of times, and you can see the intensity right now for Thomas Bellman. He is in the thick of it at the moment. It's not going the right way. Double winner at Sonoma. Great points on the board. Came in as the championship leader. But I don't think ninth is going to do it. If you want to win the title, you're going to have to do better than that. Well, just look at Polasek's season last year. He won 7 or 8 races.
Yeah, it was a dominating stretch for parts of last season. Today, Bellman having a really fight. Speaking of fights, talked about Hibbett. He's continuing to progress his way forward through this pack right now with some of the side-by-side. Jake Cummings losing some ground. That's a bit of contact from Rold again. Yeah,
getting physical out there between a couple drivers from 11th on back. It's been pretty tidy at the front of the field, at least for now. But from Hibbett back to, well, really from Bellman back to Hibbett, it's been a little naughty here, pushing and shoving.
Yeah, having to get the elbows out, but you can only do so much, obviously, in this style of racing before you end up breaking the elbows, or better yet, overexerting those elbows. You have to be careful on your moves in this style of racing to make sure you do things the right way. Do things cleanly. Hibbett went through one of those puddles going wide a bit. Good save.
That was a great save. That was a huge wiggle. Again, you're going north of 100 miles an hour at that part of the racetrack. And any little slide turns into a big slide very quickly. Door opens. Jake Cummings jams his GRD6 down the inside. Side by side into 7 now.
Not sure if that's going to work, obviously, with the switchbacks. So the S's here. I think Cummings just trying to pressurize Hibbett again to retake the spot if he can. They've lost a lot of ground to the cars in front. This is essentially their own battle pack, formed up by 8 seconds. But Kevin Rold saying, you know what? I'll take a shot to the inside. Why not try and lunge up in below both cars?
He got one of them. Crossover, though, from Cummings on corner exit. He'll get the power down a little sooner. We have no traction control on these cars today. Of course, we're running a fixed setup here in this series. So TC is off, the ABS is on. So when you go to boot that throttle with your right foot, you have to be a little cautious, especially out of the hairpins in particular. This is a racy bunch, this group.
They've been racy all throughout this entire day so far. Now you also have Cole Hooper, who thought about trying to push things 3 wide for a moment. Never snap under the brakes. Kevin Rold might have been too quick under braking to be able to try and stick things. How about sticking it back inside yet again? Just won't back down. He won't give up here because he sees the opportunities open up time in and time out, but it's now costing him yet again with Hooper just driving on through.
A lot of great side-by-side racing here in the stadium section. So many over-under opportunities. Who's back to the throttle sooner to head through the carousel? Camden Hibbett has dispatched Jake Cummings. They were battling side-by-side a lap ago, so that's a win for the Hibbett machine. Look at this battle out of turn 19, led by the 95. Nate Stewart's in there, Paul Darling, and Andre Castro.
We haven't touched upon too much here today. Very quietly, he's just been running amongst the top 5 now for a solid starting position in the top 8. You also throw the mix. Paul Darling doing some good defending. Castro obviously going backwards a little bit, ready to try and pounce again. So we're running close to the end of this one already. Already about 5 minutes to go. 3 wide as Bellman continues to go the wrong way.
Bellman going the wrong way. Castro got by Darling, but just maybe an inch less, and he would have gotten turned into the Armco there at the exit of turn 1. Now the battle heads into the S's here. You got to get single filed out through this section, and they've done that.
And it's getting more and more tricky just to follow single file as we're seeing right now on the racetrack. You see them fanning out just to be able to see the visibility, 8 different angles for these S's. Get better runs like Castro's doing. Try something different to swarm the back end of Stewart.
Castro is I think he's gonna turn up underneath him here at the exit of turn 9. Great move here. He's gonna open the door. Now through 10, he's gonna have this pass made. That was great driving by Castro just to get his steering ahead of Stewart just enough to have this opportunity into 11.
Just has to get the job done on the send. Tried to push him up a little bit. Able to hold on to be able to make the move yet again. That's built up Menzies buffer on the racetrack. Some aggressive driving all throughout this race today, to say the very least from Castro. But up front, here comes Rodriguez. He's looking for a move for second.
Yeah, brand new driver to the championship, making his name known today. Deep on the brakes alongside Polasek, going for second place. This is the time to do it because we're coming to 2 to go.
Gotta try and stick it out here. There is an opportunity to this arena section if he can keep it side by side to get the run for the pass before they make their way to the final corners. Problem is, he's towards the wrong side of that unless he covers off Polasek just like that. Forced Polasek to slow down, nearly forced him off the racetrack. Polasek gave him a huge break to avoid turning him.
He did, and then Polasek kept the overlap just enough to sneak underneath him at turn 16. Now Rodriguez does the over-under to him, but can't get the overlap back. What a great battle, but it's allowing Yanni to pull away, and they're going to have about 7 miles to do something about it, but they're going to have to start that track now.
Yeah, it's getting very, very nerve-wracking. I'm thinking that's really helped out Yanni, to say the very least, up front. Mind you, when it comes to Rodriguez, you're talking about him coming into this championship. He does have good experience where a couple of years ago was a part of PT Autosports' aspiring driver shootout, was amongst the top 2 in the very end, picked up a $10,000 scholarship, attended a GT school with Skip Barber Racing School. So he's got some real-world experience, but a lot of his accolades are from the sim racing side, including in different car types, but also a 12-time lap record holder at different tracks across the racing service.
Well, looks like he's setting some today. I mean, look at him just delicately balancing that car. He's a lot better than Polasek through the S's in particular. And my only fear is that their battling has allowed Yanni to pull away. And I'm not sure that they're going to have time to get back to him without a mistake out of the 23. Now, how painful was the loss last season? Remember, we only raced 1 race per round last year. We didn't get this 2-race format. Yanni lost it by a car length at the very end of the race. And now he leads by 1.2 with a lap and a half to go. Here comes Rodriguez, big run down the hill.
Now this battle is going to be perfect for him. Rodriguez opening things up again. Polasek yet again with the squeeze, though. This is perfect for Yanni's opportunity to run away, but yet again, Rodriguez didn't have enough overlap. Squeeze off Polasek to force him off, or rather slow him down a bit, and now Polasek is still in prime defending position. Rodriguez looks like he's going to try a side-by-side again in the arena section.
Little deja vu down here into turn 12. What great fair racing up to this point. Polasek out onto the AstroTurf out there. And still neck and neck here for P2. This is fantastic stuff. Rodriguez crossover. Look at that move to the outside.
Got him the line to potentially clear on by. Remember, that was the groove to easily clear by Polasek last lap. But Polasek doing the exact same thing Rodriguez did the last lap. Squeeze him out. This time Rodriguez nearly turned him around with how snap loose he got. Polasek doing a tremendous job defensively to not only hold the spot, but do so in a clean manner.
Yeah, I think the challenge for Polasek now is that, you know, he's not only fighting for second place, but third too, because Brandon Hawken has run these drivers down. They're not done battling yet. A little slip on the curb there. Yanni is, I think, too far gone to catch, but Hawken is quickly closing from 4th place.
It's getting very dramatic, to say the very least. I don't know if 4th place is going to get up there right now with Brandon Hawken unless they start making contact. Already the clock reaching zeros here as they go side by side. Rodriguez nearly knocking the mirror off the side of Polasek. He's driving so close. Now he arcs him up.
Last lap, 3.5 miles and 20 turns left. Now 19 for these front two. It is a bare knuckle brawl here. And there's a battle even deeper in the field, but we'll take you to that one once this one sorts. Rodriguez gets second away, but Polasek doesn't want to give it up into the S's.
Trying to set him back up. Does he do what Castro's done a couple times? Try play a different arcing line to set things up before the dive up to turn 11. All things are well. These drivers continue to sort things out for 11th on back. They just will not quit.
Oh, this is going to make me nervous here. Kevin Roll tried to slam the door. A little curb jump there for Cole Hooper. And spin slide, Jake Cummings is out. Slides to a stop in the S's on the final lap of the race. That is going to be heartbreak for him.
At least on the very bright side, he didn't collect anybody, but now Polasek, he's going to look to set things up for the arena section. Great run, corner exit. Rodriguez snapped around. There's a touch bit of draft still with these weather conditions. That's why Rodriguez is already trying to swerve, trying to block things off in case Polasek goes for the send here.
To get to the outside, but this is the beauty of this arena section here at COTA. I don't really know which side you'd rather be on because you sort of get an equal amount of rights and an equal amount of lefts. Who's got more? Looks like Paul Darling might have picked up a black flag, potentially track limits violation there. And as Rodriguez wide he is, here comes Polasek back to the left.
Great crossover, Polasek showing his veteran prowess. Rodriguez though trying to go for an air crossover back. Problem is, had to check up hard to avoid making contact with the back of the Polasek's machine. As here comes Hawken. Don't know if he's going to have a chance to take advantage of all this unless Rodriguez does something very bold here.
Battle for second place and a battle behind them for fifth. Menzies and Castro leaning on each other for position as well. Still banging fenders. Yanni through the carousel. Polasek second, Rodriguez third, Hawken fourth, and we're not done yet.
Well, Yanni has done a tremendous job up front. He's absolutely ran away with this one up front.
3.5 seconds, and he'll redeem himself after losing this race by a car length last year. Wins it by 3.5 seconds this time. Here comes Polasek and Rodriguez in a run to the checkers, 3 across. Polasek second, Rodriguez third by a nose over Hawken, and there's more battles behind. Look at this mess across the stripe.
Oh, that's a huge checkup at the line. Castro slowing up in front of Menzies right at the line, all while they slip and slide for 11th. Some great driving today, showcased back there in the pack. Some tremendous battling all throughout this one.
Yeah, Jake Cummings in the number 97. That spin was a costly one, 19th place for him. I'm not sure he'll be stoked about how that one completed. There's even a battle even further back. Chris Wetz, Blake Townend. Townend would like a do-over after slipping up on the opening lap. Even Ian Brown and Miguel Colon just a couple tenths apart at the finish. What a race.
What a phenomenal one, to say the very least, as the rest of the pack closes up this one. That was absolutely dramatic to go all throughout this one, but in the end, Michael Yanni pulled away with all that heavy battling to take away this one.
Yeah, Polasek second, Rodriguez third. A couple of adjustments here. Nate Stewart 30th, Paul Darling 33rd. That was because of late race penalties, I believe, for track limits violations. There goes our results because we're ticking over already to the next race. But remember that there is an incident limit, and the drivers, I think, just got a little bit greedy there at the end, and some of the contact might have put them over the top. But we get a second to debrief here, Justin. Race one was thrilling, and we're going to see more of the same here shortly.
It's going to be curious to see how the conditions fare out for the second race. It was touched upon by some that it may dry out a little bit towards that second race, towards the end of it, with the tire temperatures we were talking about before today. But I think for this race, the standards already been laid out for many of these competitors. Tensions are high, and a lot of these competitors want these spots immediately. But the problem is, if you battle for too long, you can potentially lose that next pack. We've seen that up in front with Michael Yanni in the very end. We may see that in a couple of the air battles in race number 2. I think for a lot of these drivers, it's going to be about how do I approach things without losing too much time to make sure I join the conversation for the race win without putting myself into an absolute hornet's nest like we've seen for 11th spot, for example.
Does it seem like we've seen a lot of things that could turn to physical altercation out there? We've seen a lot of bumping and rubbing and trading paint. We haven't seen a lot of drivers get turned around backwards, but it feels like things are brewing today for whatever reason, not just the weather.
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of the track in part, but it's also just the nature of being a racer. I think a lot of these competitors today, with the rain keeping things more compact compared to some of the more draft track format you may see here, is causing things to compress a little bit more than separate that you would normally see at some other tracks. So, and that in turn is causing a lot of the tension that we're seeing build up around this track. And a lot of these competitors quite simply just want points. With it being only 25 minutes, mind you, Kyle, you have not a lot of time to be able to get the job done. And that adds a lot more sense of urgency in general, and why we're seeing so much urgency from a lot of these drivers. Just go, go, go to gain spots.
Here's another look at your Continental Track preview here today. Again, we highlight a couple of the trouble spots every single week, every single round. Turn 1, we didn't see be an enormous trouble spot in this race, but race 2, people tend to get more aggressive. Then the S's, though, streamlining through here. We saw that for Jake Cummings and for Blake Townend be where their race effectively came to an end. They were in a battle, and they were no longer in a battle after getting that just a little wrong. Turn 11, great passing zone, but really the stadium section seems to be where you start locking arms and going at it rib cage to rib cage here, Justin. It's just great racing over there here at Circuit of the Americas. And remember that next week we go racing here for real, right here on GT World with the real Toyota GR Cup North America series. It'll be myself and DJ Clark covering the action for that. That's round 2 of the championship there. But again, this precedes that round before we head there. I'll be there on Wednesday. Well, things are drying up a little bit. Bluer skies, and the track's still wet, but it's no longer actively raining. Of course, we're still in our warm-up period here, Justin, so things can still change, but this is worth taking note of.
Absolutely. The radar's actually gone to 0%, in fact, for precipitation. All the clouds have immediately cut off. There isn't any potential clouds in the forecast. It stays 0%, it looks like, the rest of the way. And this is exactly what we were emphasizing and alluding to. These drivers now, as this track dries out, are going to absolutely have to manage some track temperatures and some tire temperatures. They can absolutely cook their Continental tires here. You can see as well, slipping and sliding like these drivers here on the replay isn't going to help your case either.
No, it's not. I think Polasek's just having some fun, but watch him toss this thing around. This is what's so fun about these cars in iRacing and in the real world, that nice balance. The front engine, rear drive distribution, about 47% in the rear, 53% in the front. Just great balance in that race car. Makes them a lot of fun, and we lock the traction control off. No need. I think it's just more fun to slide these things around. Now, if the track's drying out, we are on the wet weather tire today. We will not have pit stops, Justin. And what that means is if the track dries out, you're going to be on a wet weather tire, and that wet weather tire is going to get hot.
Yeah, it's designed strictly for, well, rainy conditions. And the more it dries out, the more it burns up the tire and heats up those temperatures. For a lot of these drivers, if you push hard on your rubber, you're likely going to drop back. A lot of these competitors are going to have to, as this race goes on, baby those tires to make sure they don't absolutely fry them and lose all their time, because those tire percentages in sim are going to evaporate extremely quickly here.
Yeah, so managing your equipment, managing the tires that you have is going to be a challenge here in this race as well. Remember that this is a 25-minute race, race number 2. Live look at our racetrack now. No rain in sight. There still will probably be some light puddling in some places, but for the most part, things look a lot drier, and this is going to be fun. I love when we get a damp racetrack that is in drying conditions, because it forces drivers to be aggressive, and when you're aggressive, it heats up your tires, and then you're forced to get creative with your racecraft.
Yeah, you're going to have to be careful on the throttle. You're going to have to be careful in particular on how you approach these corners as well, in terms of how hard you're on the brakes, how smooth you need to be, but better yet, as this race goes on, making sure you don't absolutely go 100% per se to where you burn things up so dramatically on these tires and end up losing your tires and potentially risking not only tire blow, but in general tire wear going so drastic.
Well, cars are rolling off on their half pace lap. And on the left-hand side of your screen is going to be your starting lineup for this. This will be done as the race 1 results. So where they start is where they finished. And Yanni v. Polasek, we didn't really get that battle at the apex that we thought. We got Polasek v. Rodriguez. Now does the 25 with the race under his belt push a little harder on this start to try to sneak by Yanni? I think if he could get clean air, that 25 in his on debut, I think could be a real threat.
I think that 25, if he can get it clear, Polasek can make things interesting for Yanni in general. I think Polasek and Rodriguez are very evenly matched on pace. But remember, Rodriguez has set the fastest laps all race long so far and was quicker than the race leaders in clean space. It's going to be, can Rodriguez find a way around cleanly off the start, set a good tone, and then be able to try and find a way to the race lead quickly without losing too much time and opening the door for someone like Polasek right back, with Yanni being so composed up front.
Just got a note from Henry Drury, and you'll note if you watch the real series that this is the exact same car that Zach Hollingshead drives in the Real World Series for PT Autosport, and exactly the one that Henry Drury drove last year. And it sounds like both Zach and Michael have been helping each other. Yanni helping Zach with the real world car, and maybe Michael helping Zach with the sim car. That's fascinating stuff, but it's time to go racing again. 25 minutes up on the board. Remember that you may not change lanes until you get to the start gantry. Here we go. Race 2, round 2. Toyota GR Cup North America eSports League action from Circuit of the Americas. Green flag in the air again.
Great start for Yanni, already pulling off and away. Rodriguez having the opposite of what he needed off that launch. He needed to keep up to the bumper, but don't be surprised on the lunge with Rodriguez trying to fade things out. Inside line, got the good send, 3-4-1 to the back.
I heard a little bit of crunching, but I didn't see anybody actually go off. There's a little bit of 4 wide back there. That's not going to work. Nate Stort's in the center of it, and it's going to get a squeeze. There goes the 77, allows it around in the middle of the field. Is he going to get clobbered? No, he will dodge everybody. But a big moment there on the opening lap as we now make our way into the S's. And more trouble in the background. Ian Brown gets turned around.
Yeah, Ian Brown hit a lot of the curb. He may have gotten some love taps from Nate Stort as well. Nate Stort having plenty of contact to start things off with the leaders. Already single filed out. Rodriguez, he needed to find a way to clear in the opening corner to jump up to second and pressurize Yanni from the get-go. Instead, Polasek played good defense, and now the pressure is on for them to close back up for the race lead and do it so quickly. That was a little too quickly. Yanni just launched into the back of Polasek in the back of Yanni.
Onto the back straightaway now. Look at this. That little checkup there has caused Rodriguez to get alongside the 45. Drag race down the back straightaway here. And if Rodriguez can clear Polasek early, he can set his sights squarely on Yanni. It's going to be a tire management race now with the rain gone. You have to search for some puddles on the racetrack to keep your Continentals cool. Hawking on defense from Castro and Belleman in the background. Here comes Castro in the 34.
Castro extremely aggressive right now. Gets the squeeze down, and he showcased last race. He really wanted to go and go quickly for spot after spot. Did not want to keep it calm. Polasek having a bit of a bobble. Castro seems to be pretty much focused on one thing. Get to the outside, make some passes, get the job done as Bellman tries to get some spots back after the not so great race 1.
Yeah, this is getting a little dicey here. Camden Hibbett up to 7th place. He launched his way forward at the tail end of that last race and now has a couple more drivers right on his 12 o'clock here. That's Hawken on the right, Belleman, the Sonoma winner, on the left. Oh, a little checkup. That was really close.
Great start yet again for Hibbett, though. He's been good off those starts each and every race. Join the conversation amongst the top 10 here. Let's start getting a little argy-bargy as the Cars machine. Clay Morris getting moved around.
Yeah, Kevin Rold is at the back of that shot. Here's Russell Soto in the 50 popping out of line as well. But Belleman and Hawkins still side by side. Hibbett's got to pick which line he thinks is going to go forward. He's going to go to the outside here. Hopefully carry the inside to turn 2 or do the crossover.
I think right now the quite simple thing is going to try the crossover attempts at this point. See some of the battling continuing about 11th off back. And our squeeze off. Not going to appreciate that right now at the Things machine. Oh, that's why exactly there. You cannot run side by side there without contact. Russell Soto will lose all his time.
Yeah, and he'll have to give up a little bit more once he rejoins the racetrack as well with the slowdown penalty. But I think they've tuned those so that you don't have to give up a ton of time like you did in the past. So he'll get right back in line and continue racing after taking the escape route there.
I think that's partly just because of the raining conditions. Because the raining conditions slowed things down much more dramatically compared to the dry. So, in theory, the slowdowns aren't so big because you're already going down slower pace as it is, Kyle. And that's going to really make it where you don't have as much time bleed. It's very helpful that he came back basically where he was there. It's not going to give as many breaks to Clay Morris likely after that one.
Yeah, Jake Cummings, remember, he spun out on the final lap in race 1 in that Tech Sport Racing 97, so he's on a very northward charge here alongside Logan McKenzie and Aaron Smith. We know he's capable of a top 12, top 10 running spot. He's a long way from it at the moment.
How about some 3 wide for your good measures here? Drivers just trying to move up fast. You have big sends throughout this entire pack right now. Jake Cummings doing a great job fending all of them off in the midst of what is a very busy pack. Logan McKenzie in there. You have Aaron Smith in the conversation. You have Lynn in the conversation. All sorts of battling as they try and figure things out here in the midst of these wet conditions. Still 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, tight quarters there through turn 15. That's a real pinch point on this lap. You're just generally going slow enough that if you get tagged, it's not going to send you around for a big loop. Alex Penn of that Skip Barber Racing School, number 22. Skip Barber has a big presence here at Circuit of the Americas. I'm sure you'll see lots of those cars if you're visiting us in the real world this week at the racetrack in Austin. Big wiggle there for Wan Shi Lin, Penn, and Aaron Smith up the road.
Norway Penn, we've seen a fair bit of him in Touring Car Championship sim racing competition. Those drivers starting things up actually in a couple weeks, I think, again, in terms of stock car division. But up front, Hawken getting mightily close to potential bumping there as Hibbett yet again continues his progression through this pack to make pass after pass. The problem's going to be
look at Hawken. Holy cow.
That was a slip and slide right across the nose.
Look at that, right across the nose of Hibbett. That was an intense moment there for Hawken, and he's still sliding through the S's.
Yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking. Thought he was going to get turned with that drift right across the front bumper. But Hibbett, I think, is quicker. The problem is going to be actually getting side by side and making the move, especially with how slippy and sliding things are going.
Yeah, remember that not only is the tire going to get hot because it's running on a surface that can't cool the tire down, it's also got that thicker tread block, so the car is naturally going to want to slide around more on the tread of the tire. So it's going to be tricky for everyone to keep these things in check and keep the cars straight. Even though the track is drier, it might actually be harder to keep the car in line now that we're a little out of the element of what this iRacing wet weather tire is designed for.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at this mess back here. 4 wide as we've had some drivers with some issues, it looks like. Let's take a look. As, yet again, more trouble.
Oh, sort of similar to what we saw at turn 12 last time, where a car got turned around and sort of got hit in the left front. Just charged it, got on throttle too much, and Nate Stewart packs in there. It looks like Michael Montello or Anthony Montello, one of the Lazy Rocket cars. They'll keep going. Didn't look like big damage.
Yeah, you just mentioned the reason too. They were starting to get so slick out there. Those temperatures, I think, really are starting.
55-second penalty, change of lanes on the screen.
Looks like we got a penalty as we got a spinner in the racing groove.
Oh, that is Andrew Sharp in the 88. See the penalty top of your screen there. Let's see what happened to Sharp.
Yeah, similar to what we've seen previously.
Oh,
yeah. And he immediately backed up that time out of the racing groove because he didn't want to be any danger to any of the other competitors. Looks like he's now off the track, but Michael Yanni's ran away. Rodriguez has taken second over in all of this. Now it becomes the true test for Rodriguez. Can he reel him in as this race goes on as we take a look at the replay.
I wanted to go back to the initial start of the race if I could, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to get this quickly enough for it to be relevant, but I can't, unfortunately. But I wanted to go back and look because it was a changing lanes violation for the 50 of Russell Soto. That was something that was talked about quite a bit. It's just very easy to get distracted by all the racing going on around you, but you're not actually allowed to change your line, move left or right out of your column until the start line.
Yeah, you have to be careful when it comes to those conditions, and better yet, how you handle these starts. It's just down to driver awareness on where those exact lines are in that case. And Soto had been in a decent spot, at least in the top 10, in fact. Now, let's see, go backwards as a result of that, but take a look at that pack still on screen. Castro having a much better second race of the day so far. He's made it clear he wants to go. Oh, that's in a bad spot, and that's the Cars machine.
That's Clay Morris in the 48, and again, we've seen more spins in this race than we did. Oh, he had some help. He had big help from behind. Is that the 17 of Kevin Rold that got into him?
Yes, it is. Yeah, Rold missed his braking point, it looks like.
Yeah, he got
earlier
caught
on the brakes.
Oh.
Bam.
50 of Russell Soto did a nice job keeping his car straight after the contact. All the while, for second place, hello, battle's back on here, huh?
Yeah, they just will not quit in this battle for the top three. Zach Yanni wants to see, but Castro, yet again, is in a position where he can try and pounce. And ERA is an organization that's really expanded out its efforts, whether it's in NASCAR, whether it's in our sim platforms and in-stop competitions. Castro, one of its flagship drivers, looking to push the tempo still on this top two.
Yeah, Michael Yanni is driving away, and everyone else is torching their tires in this battle right now. So if anyone wants to take the fight to Yanni, they're going to have to get established and stop racing so hard. It sounds so counterintuitive, but while these drivers battle, it's just going to wear out their rubber even more.
And that's why I think for some it might be a matter of, can we calm down a little bit? The pace, mind you, from earlier on in qualifying, even in rain conditions, has picked up 3-4 seconds here. So they are absolutely going faster and faster, too, on this rubber. Now the track has gotten much drier. The rooster tails have reduced, and some of these drivers go for some lunges still. The teammates, they still going for it. A bit of a squeeze. Once again, Cummings squeezed off.
Yeah, Cummings was trying to move up into 10th, and he had it for a while, but got passed again by a pair of teammates, Rold and Soto. So he was up 2 more spots and got shuffled very quickly back out of them. Soto got a little offline, though. You see that just break his rhythm. And now Jake Cummings is going to have an opportunity to sneak up the inside right here. Door open, but he can't quite fit down it. Broken taillight on the 52.
I don't know if he's quite concerned about the broken taillight. That is from damage. So at this point on the left rear from all the RG barginess, to say the very least. But it's now going to be all about one thing. Regrouping, trying to get back into a position to battle, and right now the two teammates look like they're faster than Cummings to be able to build up a buffer at the moment.
Their battle's a bit deeper in the field. Patrick Mason, new to the championship, Ben Blaustein, returning for a second year in the number 86 car. This is all the way back for 27th spot that this fight is happening. Well, and around goes Major on Weiss again.
This track's not good for him.
No.
He's not having a great time.
I think he'll call. Well, he's back. I thought he had called it, but.
Yeah, just technical one. But Morris, from the spin earlier, makes it 3 wide yet again. Nate Storn is still scratching, clawing his way with the demolished race car. Nicholas Sudik, with all the luck he's had this series, just saying, you know what? You both have had troubles. I'm just going to let you fight.
You know, sometimes got to make your own luck, and he did not like anything that he saw out the left or right side window there. Let those two go. And that might have been a pretty wise decision. Out of Warren, Ohio, 35-year-old here, and he's going to charge 15, a little wide there. More contact, though, leaning on each other.
Oh, and there's Morris yet again showing his disappreciation. Got to be careful not to turn himself. Yet again, Nate Stewart getting the elbows out. His car is looking like something from Martinsville rather than at Circuit of the Americas.
It's been a pretty intense day. Slide up the road. Did they gather it up? They did. That was Chris Wetz in the 91, but he had a big moment just now.
Just about checked them all up right into the midst of the battle. As look out, how about four-wheel drifting?
Oh man, look at that. That is incredible. That is about as sideways as you can get one of these GRNA 6s without it biting you back. That was cool.
It was like driving on the dirt. Yeah, just through the gear shifts, went for a slide. Held on to it right at the edge of the paint. Good save by Wentz.
Well, it didn't make him faster, but it did make him cooler, that's for sure.
Did burn up the tires likely as well,
yeah,
for good measure. But, hey, they seem to be calming down from it a little bit now, right behind Sudik at least, in terms of some of that battling.
We'll get back on the horse and continue. All the while up at the front, Michael Yanni continues to drive away. Polasek and Rodriguez, though, still fight for second. Now, my question to you, Justin, at this stage in the championship, we're still so fresh to it. Thomas Belleman runs fifth in this race. Didn't have a great first race either by at least Sonoma standards. Are we going to have the single driver dominance that we saw last season? I mean, Yanni and Polasek really fought on even footing, but it was Polasek that won most of the races. If we have Belleman sweep round one and Yanni sweep round two, it's still wide open at the top of the pylon for the championship.
I think this entire championship in general is wide open because the competition level has gone up dramatically. Not just with how the top drivers have improved upon it. You see some of the battling now with Castro joining the fun again, but also in general, we've seen a lot of new drivers that are great in this style of racing and are known for being some of the better drivers in this style of racing join the action, like Brendan. Oh no, Castro got turned.
Oh boy. He'll get back rolling and drop to ninth, but that was not what he needed if he was going to be a factor in this championship. Here he was alongside Polasek. Did he run the 45 out into the rumbles? Well, Polasek got sideways, and that's what initiated the contact there. That was not anyone getting overly aggressive. It was just slipping and sliding.
There's a lot of bumping. Yeah, just got loose. Trying to keep it from going across the green AstroTurf and across the paint. And Castro not going to be happy about that contact whatsoever, obviously. He had been having a great round, and now it's going to be deeper down to the points after today.
Tell you who is having a fun time is Jake Cummings. And Soto enrolled, very much not a fan of Jake Cummings at the moment because he has been in the midst of their little team scrum for a while. Doing his best to battle has brought Aaron Smith and Logan McKenzie into the fight too. Nate Stewart hits pit lane. He's got a black flag to serve. Likely incident related.
With the amount of contact Nate Stewart's had, I'm not surprised. But you are right about Jake Cummings. He has just not quit. And it's continuously caused slow up after slow up for some of these drivers. It's to the point where that side-by-side we just seen Soto have a major close-up. Aaron Smith just drove up alongside, passed them all by with good measure, and that's going to be the risk of some of the battling. Eventually, you battle yourself so much where a lot of these drivers will just say, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. We'll just slip on through, take advantage, and say, I'm faster, I'll take advantage of your situation for points.
Something to consider now with 7.5 minutes to go. When we ride on board, we're hearing and seeing a lot more marbles. That tells me that the tires are leaving a lot of rubber down on the racetrack because of how soft they are and how much we're leaning on them. So that could be a factor as well. If you get offline, not only is there going to be rainwater, there's also going to be marbles to contend with as well. Russell Soto is really sideways leaving turn 11.
Starting to get extremely defensive here. Soto, mind you, is dealing with damage. It's going to be a bit more slower down compared to some of the others. How about 3 wide again? Cummings forcing his way to the inside.
This is getting extremely spicy now. Who outbreaks the other? 3x3 down into turn 12. Aaron Smith crosses them both over. Look at that move, but he's going to get sandwiched with Logan McKenzie.
And again, force check up McKenzie. Way to the outside groove. I think at this point, the mindset's quite simple. Just drive how you want to be raced. And right now, this entire battle pack's made it clear. They want to be raced like it's 5 wide at Talladega with the way things are going.
Yeah, it's Talladega with hairpins. This is the new thing that we've got in 2025 now. But they've sorted themselves out. A moment ago, I saw Camden Hibbett make his way up past Brandon Hawkett on the timing screen. To move Hibbett to 5th. This is a really nice run for the 15-year-old out of Galena, Ohio. I know that the talent is there. Sonoma was a pretty hard racetrack to overtake on, but he seems to really be finding his footing late in the going now.
Yeah, qualifying doesn't seem to be his forte. Race pace is indeed Hibbett's forte. Now he's got Hirel Compatriot just in front of him here. Just trying to work with Bellman to see if they can find their way into the podium spots to close out the day here.
A podium would be a really strong result, and the podium position is that green and blue car of Polasek. That's all they have to do to land on it. Remember that there's cash prizing as well for these races. If you win, $200 a race, pays out down to 5th. And then, of course, the season championship, you're talking in the thousands to win the title here. So there is plenty on the line as Brandon Hawkett now faces some pressure from behind and has some targets in the crosshairs out the windshield.
They've been trying to set the arc that time by, but Brandon Hawkins has a little bit of breathing space in this pack. Once again, side by side, Bellman looking to go. Now just trying to find a good corner exit, get the grip down as the sun to make it lots more hotter. Those rooster tails just about gone, as now it's going to be about all that tire management. You can tell the draft is becoming a bigger factor now that's dried up.
Yeah, we have a lot more rolling resistance from the wet weather tire as well, so you're not going to be carrying as much speed on the straightaway. VMAX here looking like 115, 116 versus 125 to 130. Late on the brakes, 3 wide here. Polasek has got nowhere to turn into. He gets passed by 4 or 5 cars all in one turn.
Got a little bit of argy-bargy yet again. Gonna get very dangerous now as Brandon Hawkett and all this just trying to take advantage, but he is way wide, way out of the groove.
This is for the podium spot. Hawkett way up the inside at turn 15. Now he goes to 3rd place, but Bellman keeps the overlap for the carousel.
Great side-by-side battling yet again. Bellman trying to find his way around on the shorter distance. Rodriguez has ran away for 2nd. But now, Bellman absolutely leading on top of Hawkins as Hawkins tries to go for the run.
Side by side through 19, mirror to mirror, with coming to 2 laps to go here. This is for the podium position. Bellman on the outside, Hawkins on the inside. Little rub here. Here comes Nick Yanni in the 24.
Yanni wants some spots back. Nick Yanni in particular wanting to make it a 2 Yanni podium. PT Autosport watching closely. Already Nick Yanni with damage. 3 wide in the opening corner. Can Nick Yanni send it without absolutely planning it by? Yes, what a good send, but what a better crossover.
That was a great move there. Great read by Brandon Hawkett to see that coming. He over-unders, gets by Nick Yanni, who splits the difference between the 98 and 1. They needed someone to kind of break up that fight for a second. And now Camden Hibbett watching all this from 6th place, just trying to pick the pocket of whoever is looking out the windshield and not the mirror.
Now this is going exactly to plan if you're amongst the top 2 right now, but Nick Yanni trying to poke an air line, check things up in this pack yet again. Hibbett, no place to go quite yet except go along for the ride and wait for a chance to pounce here, as you can absolutely hear the amount of marbles these drivers are clinking around.
Now watch Thomas Bellman coming up through turn 9. When he turns back to the left, watch this car step out as he comes over the crest here. Oh, big counter steer moment. He caught it, but the tires are hot. The cars are a little angry. A little more moisture down here on this end of the racetrack. See the wipers come back on, but that's just for the spray. The other half of the track is very, very dry.
That just shows how big this circuit is here. Rodriguez, great podium run, but Michael Yanni today has kind of showcased he has been extremely difficult to pass, extremely difficult to keep up with. Great drive today as here we go again. Nick, he wants his 3rd spot. Hawkins way wide.
Yeah, this is just going to get very physical. Polasek's picked up a penalty. I think track limits violations too many times over. And that's a black flag. It'll be a drive-through. That is catastrophic. How many times did Polasek get a penalty last year? I can't think of any.
Oh, that is absolutely huge for the championship. Your reigning champion going to be way down in the point standings, likely down with this one. That's the first major mistake for his season in the past 2 seasons. You can argue this is going to be absolutely frustrating from him, from that car.
Yeah, remember that the incident limit is unchanged from last season, but the races are shorter, so you effectively get a little bit more. Oh man, some side-by-side as you see Polasek pull off, but we've only seen 2 or 3 of those today, so it's not like the limit's too low. You got to keep the car in the boundaries there, and some side-to-side contact might have done him in here. White flag 1 to go for Michael Yanni.
On the time around, as Michael Yanni, with all the battling going on for 2nd and 3rd spot today, just drove away from everybody. They're still not done for 3rd. Bellman now going for the lunge to try and get the job done, but Hawken preferred line. What a save by the 1.
And Hibbett pulled hard left on the exit, had to swerve to miss Bellman because he was way sideways. And now Yanni's going to watch these two go door to door into the S's at 100 miles an hour. Hibbett pulls ahead. Bellman doesn't give in. Now he does. Oh, he's off. And back on. And he's off.
And way off the racing groove, way off the pattern. Rhythmistic part of the racetrack and the S's. You break that rhythm, you have exactly what just happened there. And now Nick Yanni, the rest of that pack's lost time. Look at Cole Hooper joining the fight.
Where did he come from in that number 6? Brand new to the championship and jumps the curb. Yanni powers around the outside. What a fight that was through the S's. That was fun to watch Thomas Bellman just get it wrong and just spend the rest of the S's just trying to get the train back on the tracks.
It's a phenomenal battling here. I don't think they're done yet around Hawken, though. Now it's Hibbett's turn to build up one final charge. Let's go snaking down the straightaway.
See what Hibbett's got. I watch Camden Hibbett's heart rate every week when we go sim racing on Tuesday nights. But look at his heart rate now, 125. It's like he's running a marathon. Here he comes for the podium spot on the back straightaway.
Oh, they're dooring each other. A little bit of argy-bargy. Has got to be careful with the incidents. Hibbett, great crossover to try and set things up on the outside.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, though. Wrong side of the road for turn 13. If he can hang on, though, he'll have the inside for 15, which is where I think you're going to need it.
People on the outside sticking out there, but Hibbett's clear before that point. Great run by Hibbett to take away the podium spot.
Yeah, he's got it for now, but is it? Oh, here comes Hawken to the inside. He opened the door there, tried to jam it up on the inside of the curbing, but could not do it. Out front, Michael Yanni has been the dominant force today at COTA. Last year was denied a win. This year is going to win it twice over. Both races go to Michael Yanni in a sweep at COTA. The 23 wins at Circuit of the Americas. Bryce Rodriguez up onto the podium. Camden Hibbett on the last lap steals away 3rd place from Brandon Hawken, and the number 32 Hibbett performance car finishes 3rd. Bellman in the fence.
Not sure what happened there with Bellman. My goodness. But in the words of Brandon Hawken and Sim, what a battle. Can confirm Bellman had contact with Nick Yanni to close out the run as the rest of the drivers crossed the line.
Polasek unofficially P15, which is not as catastrophic as it probably could have been. Let's see what happened to Bellman here. He was right ahead of Nick Yanni. Yanni unofficially scored 5th. Let's see.
Watch the lunge up the inside.
Yep.
Try to take a peek. Gets contact left rear. Bellman floors it to get out of the way. Gets it off the wall at least.
Yeah, here's another look at it. A little bit of a send there from Nick Yanni. Didn't have the overlap established. And, well, from race control, I have one message to share. And that is that several incidents to be reviewed post-race. Perhaps no surprise there. Probably including that last one there at turn number 20. Whew. All right, let's have a look at our race results here for race number 2 of the night. Justin, this was an amazing, amazing round. Maybe not for the lead, but from 3rd on back, it was fierce.
Second on back, you can argue as well. Michael Yanni coming away with the race win. Bryce Rodriguez in second, though. With all that heavy battling for third, they have a run away from Hibbett, from Hawken, Nick Yanni. On months of the drivers who showcased some good battling. Cole Hooper went up 5 spots, mind you, too, amongst the top 10. You also throw the recovery drive for Castro from his spin, getting to 7th. Kevin Roll. Then you have Thomas Bellman, still a top 10 with the contact. Great run by Jake Cummings in race 2, though, Kyle. We've seen some big slides from him in race 1. Still made it a +7 to get a top 10.
Yeah, he gathered it back up and got back into the top 10. He'll be proud of that in the Tech Sport Racing car. Then Russell Soto in that scrum as well. P11. Aaron Smith, 12th. Logan McKenzie, a good ways up from the tail of the field in this event, up to 13th. Wan Shi Lin. Michael Polasek was running up inside the top 5. Was podium with 3 laps to go, but after a penalty and getting shuffled down the order, P15 for him. Paul Darling had to start pretty deep in the field. P16 in race number 2. Brett Gardner, new to the championship, 17th place. Then Alex Penn, Maurizio Lozano in 19th place, and Nick Sudik in 20th there, Justin.
Back in 21st spot going the way of Chris Wetz, Anthony Montello in front of Michael. Then it's Clay Morris, Ben Wildstein back in 25th position. Nate Stordo, they're back in 26th. John Lauzon in 27th. Schofield, Montevice, Brown amongst your top 30 on the screen.
Yeah, and of course, Blake Townend on back. Just not the way that they were hoping to end this round. Christian Menzies out pretty early. Charles Wimbley, Andrew Sharp also out of the race. Wow. In a moment, we'll talk to our race winners, but, Justin, we had a pretty unbelievable fight here in round number 2 of this championship. And round number 3, which we're going to talk about before we sign off air here in a couple of minutes, at Sebring International Raceway. That's another racetrack with a lot of straightaways, a couple of hairpins, some dicey moments, but we should, hopefully, I know Florida weather is unpredictable even in iRacing, we should be back to the dry.
Yeah, that should be an interesting time to say at the very least, especially with the run up Sunset. Going to be a lot of opportunities for drivers in the draft. It is an opportunity for drivers to try and bounce back, though. I think for Michael Polasek in particular, he's going to be one to keep an eye on to see what's the point situation going to look like. What's he going to do in that race? What is he going to try and do the rest of the season to claw back after what we just seen fare out for these drivers? That's going to be something to really lean upon after race 2. It's going to be likely his potentially one of his worst, if not the worst result he can get this season back in 15.
Well, one of the drivers that landed on the podium here, race number 2, his first podium in this championship, is Camden Hibbett. Stole the podium away on the final lap of the race, Camden. That was a fun one. Take us through this championship. You're new to this year, but putting on a show. Walk us through that battle there with Brendan Hawken at the end.
Yeah, that was something. I had a terrible qualifying. I think I qualified P19 or something. Worked my way up to P11 and by the end of race 1 and up to P3 by the end of race 2. So maybe not the best qualifier in the rain, but can certainly race for sure. Yeah, that was an insane battle. That the battle with Brandon there at the end, he tried to send it up the inside of the carousel on the last lap, and I was like, no, you're not getting that overlap. So I kind of took that line back away from him, and yeah, I was able to just battle my way into the podium spot there.
Justin?
Had to scratch and claw your way several times, it seemed, here today in general. How would you describe that feel with what we've seen qualifying pace compared to what we've seen where you've been stronger in your race pace in the series so far?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Sonoma kind of switched. I put it P2 in qualifying and then kind of fell back a couple spots in both races, whereas here, I had some issues earlier this week, so my first laps of practice were actually this morning, and I was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit and didn't have the greatest qualifying run. But generally speaking, my race pace has always been better than my qualifying pace. Just my racecraft and being able to move up through the field and predict where other people are going to go has been better than what I can do in qualifying. So definitely put that on display today, and hopefully moving throughout the rest of the season. The first 2 tracks I think were 2 of my worst on the schedule. So moving forward for the rest of the season, I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully we can keep showing up on the podium at the end of these races.
Well, Camden, thanks so much for talking to us. Congratulations, man. Fun to watch you battle up there, especially at the end of race 2. Congrats, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next time.
All right, let's chat now with Michael Polasek, who was on the podium in race number 1, but things didn't exactly pan out the way that you were hoping in race number 2. 15th, Michael. So really not the tail end of the day that you were hoping for, but still an okay points round. You know how tough it is to get things done in this championship. You won it last year. Thoughts after a wet one here at COTA?
Michael Yanni was just ridiculously fast the entire weekend. I don't think that I had any hope from race 2 on the drawing track, but race 1, I think I had the opportunity to maybe win the race if I just passed him when I had the chance. I had a couple of opportunities, but decided to wait until later on in the race, see if we could maybe pull away from the rest of the pack and have a bigger buffer to the cars behind. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out, and I had a really good fight with Bryce race 1, and that was a lot of fun. Was able to fortunately pull it off. Race 2, it's just everybody was super aggressive, and unfortunately, we just ended up in an instant. Car was destroyed because of damage, and that pretty much ended my race. Unfortunately, I got a drive-through on the last lap just because of off tracks, which took me out of the points. But we just take it as a drop and we move forward.
Overall, though, how do you describe the feel of racing in the wet, though, in general, when it comes to Circuit of the Americas, and the difference you may see compared to racing in the dry, where it seemed a lot of people are mentioning about how close the battling was in the field today?
In the wet, there's definitely a much bigger skill gap compared to the dry. Much more unpredictable conditions, especially in the S's, where the curbs can sometimes spit you out wide or spin you, or they pretty much do whatever you want. You just got to react to whatever the car is doing. Michael Yanni, as I said before, was ridiculously fast through there. And fortunately, the arena section, I guess I just had the better throttle control and was able to bring back at least some of the gap race 1. Race 2, I just had no answer for him once he broke away.
Michael, thanks for talking to us. I know frustrating end of the day here, but still strong pace. We look forward to seeing you back at Sebring in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, let's chat with Bryce Rodriguez, new to the championship, second in race number 2, first podium of the GR Cup eSports career for the 21-year-old out of Beacon, New York. Bryce, congratulations, man. What a battle you had there with Michael Polasek and some others. It was fierce, and you were just right up in the mix. What's it like racing in the rain here at COTA with such a fierce field?
First off, I just want to give a big shout out to my team, Hyperion Racing, and also shout out to my sponsor, Mo Handsome. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect to be here at all, to be honest. Being a reserve driver, got pulled up, so I had really no pressure and to just kind of have fun, try not to spin the car, but qualified decent. Really didn't expect to qualify high up, and then from there it was just a race of attrition to not get off tracks, not get myself into too much trouble, but it was a lot of fun, you know, racing with some of the fastest guys on the sim. A lot of fun. First race, it was just me and Polasek, kind of let Michael Yanni go towards the end to try to get P2, and then second race, starting in the front, again, just tried to build a gap. Yeah, I think it went smooth sailing for my first race, but hopefully looking forward to the next one.
What was that preparation like once you found out, hey, I'm in the field, and what in turn do you feel in terms of preparation, how things were? Because coming into today, people may not have known your name so much, but your name's definitely known in this field today.
Yeah, I think once I found out that I was going to be racing, of course, just went straight to preparing, trying to figure out the track. I kind of knew the track already, but of course with this car, it's such a momentum-based car, and you just need to be super smooth, have a lot of finesse. And again, I'm racing against some of the best guys on iRacing. So yeah, I really didn't expect to be in the top 10 or top 5, but I just did the best I could with prep, did everything I could in the rain. Rain kind of seems to be my strong suit, just has a bit of a different driving style. And then, yeah, going into it, had no expectations, so not a lot of pressure, but again, super happy and super grateful just to be in the top 5, and especially P3 and P2 in the first 2 races.
Well, sun was shining at the end there, not only on the racetrack, but for Bryce Rodriguez. Bryce, congratulations. Hope to see you again. Nice work today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And last but certainly not least, the driver that has swept now the second round of the championship, Michael Yanni, joins us. It was a fierce championship battle last year. I use that word a lot today, but you're back to your winning ways here at COTA, not only once, but twice over. Now tied for the championship lead here with Thomas Spelleman 2 rounds in. You have to feel pretty good about leaving everybody in the rear view here today.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It was one of the better races I've done for sure. You know, I feel like a bit of that's luck. I was able to put in that quali lap, and Yeah, I'm a bit sick, sorry, but I would say that the quality is what did it. If I had qualified anywhere other than first, I would have been stuck or fighting like the other guys did. And I mean, with the conditions like this, it's just so chaotic. It's the best spot to be for sure is first. And I mean, these guys put up a great fight, especially in race 1. It was just the entire race kind of like looking in my mirror, making sure they weren't getting too close. Kind of like when to go defensive. Thankfully, I didn't really have to do too much. But yeah, especially with kind of how it could have gone, I'm very, very happy with today for sure.
How do you describe the intensity level of this season with the championship? Because it seems things have kicked up a notch, and Travers felt you were untouchable in some of the interviews before today. But in regards to this racing, how would you describe that intensity level this season compared to last?
I mean, I would go back to qualifying again. I think the top, 5 were within the 10th or something like that. And I mean, just compared to last year, I think every race you show up to, there's 5 to 10 guys that could win. And it's really great to see. I mean, of course, I always like more competition. It does ramp the stakes up a bit as well, because you definitely have to come at it with a bit more intensity. But overall, I'm very impressed with the field this year, and definitely looking forward to more.
Well, looking forward to seeing more of it and more of you on top here, Michael. Congratulations in the number 23 PT Auto Sport car. Congratulations. We'll see you next time out at Sebring.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, and Justin, of course, Michael Yanni swept here at COTA. Sunny skies now, but boy, it was fun to watch him navigate the 3.5 miles and 20 turns here at COTA. Didn't have to race a lot of people, but that was all came down to qualifying. We've talked about that being so important this year, is to get a good starting position. But for Yanni, he never really had to pass anybody. Is that the key to winning the title?
Well, having track position in general is a good thing, absolutely, but I think the key is going to be consistently starting up front and consistently maintaining those positions, I think, in the long term, Kyle, because you can qualify up at the pole as many times but then lose tons of spots. Then you don't get the points haul. So I think to answer your question, in regards to competing for the championship, you consistently maintain up front and maintain those positions without dropping back and getting into incidents like we've seen with Polasek today, then you're in a prime position for the championship, absolutely.
Well, we do have a tie for the championship lead also between Bellarmine and Michael Yanni, so that's an exciting place to be after 2 rounds complete of 7, which leads us into the 3rd round, which is going to be at Sebring International Raceway. Now, there's not a lot of elevation change there, but what it does have a lot of is texture, Justin. We're going to be jumping curbs and bouncing over bumps at Sebring on May 3rd.
It's going to be a challenging racetrack on May the 3rd. It's going to be a fun time in Florida. I can't wait to see what happens there.
Well, that's going to do it for the Toyota GR Cup North America Esports League round number 2 of 2025. We'll see you on May 3rd for the next event here at Sebring. But, of course, to watch the real series race at COTA, tune in about this time next week because myself and DJ Clark will bring you the real action from Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time here on GT World.